Aloha, I'm Lahaina Lee, and welcome to the Maui Real Estate Advisor podcast. This week, we're going to look at the August stats. We're going to see what's happening in Maui real estate, what the trends are, and what else is happening on Maui that affects the real estate market and the economy. Let's start with Lahaina. If you haven't been through Lahaina in a while, you might be surprised, maybe even inspired by all the building you can see going on. And it sure feels, at least looks like, there's more progress than these numbers actually show. So far, in Lahaina, there have been 55 structures completed, 54 residential and 1 non-residential. Currently, 481 permits have been issued. 32 of those are for commercial, non-residential, and 449 are residential. There are 340 permits in process, submitted and going through review. The split is interesting, 186 residential and 154 non-residential. I assume those are commercial, right? What we don't really see is progress in the Lahaina Commercial Corridor. Just a reminder, the commercial corridor runs from the highway to the shoreline, Mauka to Makai, and from Baker Street up towards, Kanapali side, down to Prison Street to the south. There is no solid plan for rebuilding Lahaina yet. The county is holding hearings with the public, and the next set is scheduled around September 25th. What's glaring is what feels like a government push to just not build on the ocean side of Front Street. Several groups are lobbying to have structures rebuilt, including the Front Street Recovery Organization, local residential and commercial property owners, and well-known people like Mick Fleetwood. At the last public hearings, when I asked planners and officials about rebuilding on the ocean side of Front Street, the response was always kind of a placating, well, there is a path. Sounded like a no to me. As I've noted on previous pods, Lahaina was not taken by rising sea levels or erosion. It was a wildfire. Around the world, we see residences and businesses built out over the water. We have the technology to rebuild a vital part of Front Street if there's political will. Our leaders, including the mayor and the governor, should encourage responsible rebuilding to restore the economic engine of West Maui and perhaps all of Maui. All right, back to Lahaina. And if you haven't been through Lahaina recently, you might be amazed by the traffic. On a lot of days, inbound toward Lahaina from Wailuku or Kihei, traffic starts to back up all the way around the Pali, all the way back to the aquarium. And coming out of Lahaina, well, that's no picnic either. Traffic slows all the way back to town if you're on the lower road, and on the bypass, I've been backed up all the way to Laniapoko. So what's the deal? Well, we were all dreading truck traffic. Every day, 50 trucks make 4 round trips daily to haul debris, the debris from the Lahaina fire, from the Olawalu temporary site to the permanent site in central Maui. Now, those trucks slow things down slightly, but that's not enough to explain the congestion. My guess? People who no longer live in Lahaina are commuting in and out for work, plus construction workers who are building homes in Lahaina right now. Unfortunately, it sure ain't the tourists. So like I said, it's no picnic, but it might be a good time to pack a picnic, subscribe to some podcasts, and bring water and plan for delays. This is going to last for a while. Now I want to give you an update on Bill 9, but first, at the last Lahaina Recovers meeting, there was a very important detail about the new housing program, Hoʻokumu Hou. This program is designed to provide funds to help rebuild residential homes, compensate some folks who already rebuilt to cover part of their construction costs, and offer money to first-time home buyers. Now, I did a podcast on this earlier, And the only real update is really important. The deadline to apply for first-time homebuyer funds is October 1st. So if you're interested, don't wait. Get to that application ASAP. Not much has changed with Bill 9 since my July 28 podcast. A quick recap. The bill was passed out of the Housing and Land Use Committee and sent to the full council. The noteworthy development is that in late August, the Housing and Land Use Committee voted 8-0 to form a temporary investigative group. Now this TIG is what's called a Permitted Interaction Group under Hawaii's Sunshine Law. Good thing they didn't use that acronym. When the bill passed out of committee, only 3 members voted against it, but 2 others voiced strong concerns. The TIG gives the council time to dig deeper. The TIG members include Tom Cook, Tamara Paulton, and Shane Sinisi. The committee is chaired by Noelani Uuhajans, and I've been told there may also be a non-council member, someone from the industry maybe, included in the group, but I haven't been able to confirm that yet. Their job is to come up with some actionable procedures. I understand they'll physically be visiting some of the affected condo properties to see what kind of long-term housing they actually represent. That matters because testimony has pointed out that many of these properties are oceanfront, already battling erosion and protected by aging seawalls. And here's the kicker. The very first-time homeowner bill that I just mentioned excludes any property located in a flood zone. Yeah, you can do the math. The TIG's finding and recommendations are due back to the Housing and Land Use Committee by December 31st. So once again, the whole process keeps getting dragged out. With housing policy still unfolding and long-term planning uncertain, it's worth checking on how the visitor numbers and the tourism spending are shaping up, since that directly impacts Maui's economic recovery. According to preliminary numbers from Hawaii's Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, both visitor arrivals and total spending slipped compared to last July. Visitor arrivals were down 4.4%. Spending was down 4.3%. Now, if we go back to 2019, the last normal year, well, arrivals are still off by 12.5%. But here's a surprising part. Visitor spending is up 15% over 2019. Here's a quick recap island by island. Oahu and the Big Island both saw fewer visitors, down 6% and 5% respectively, with spending also down. Kauai bucked the trend. Visitors were up 6% versus 2024 and even a little higher than 2019. Up 3%. Maui welcomed 235,529 visitors in July, basically flat compared to last year, but still down 24% versus 2019. Spending was flat compared to 2024 and up less than 1% over 2019. So here's the reality. Financially, Maui is at least in a recession. On the real estate side, especially condos, we might even be looking at what feels like a depression. To fix that, we've got to address housing and tourism together. And we're not alone. This is a tough issue being wrestled with by many places across the U.S. and around the world. But given that we're here, let's ask the question, which way are the real estate trade winds blowing on Maui? Yeah, it's time to do the numbers. Starting as always with condos, sales ticked up a bit from 53 in July to 57 in August. Now that may not sound like much, but with condo sales stuck at Great Recession era levels, any increase is good news. Another piece of good news for sellers is that inventory dipped slightly, down to 849 condos for sale. Now that's the lowest since spring of this year. Still, with 15 months of inventory out there, this remains a strong buyer's market. On the other side of the coin, pending sales, condos under contract but not yet closed, slipped again in August. Pending sales topped out back in March at 104, and since then they've dropped about 26% right through one of our busiest selling seasons. Prices tell the rest of the story. The median selling price hit its lowest point in 12 months, just $650,000. That's a huge 35% drop from July and down 21% year-to-date compared to 2024. The average selling price bounced back in August to just over $1 million. But for 2025 overall, the average condo selling price is still off 22% compared to last year. It's like they fell off a cliff, or off the poly as we'd say around here. And what are sellers asking for? Well, the median list price is holding at $849,000, but the average price just fell hard from $1.85 million in July to about $1.28 million at the start of September. And for those of you keeping score at home, the average days on market is now 168 days. That's up more than 30% from last year. To me, that suggests sellers are hanging on to their fond dreams of 2022, while buyers are sitting back, watching and waiting. Takeaway from this? Condo sales may be inching up, but pricing, inventory, and buyer behavior all still point to a long, grinding recovery. Turning to homes, things are a little bit better in the single-family home market. It's not really quite balanced, and with 7 months of inventory, it still leans a little bit in favor of buyers. Inventory was basically flat, up just 2 homes from July. But if we zoom out to the 12-month trend, inventory is creeping up ever so slightly month over month, which could tilt things further towards buyers. Pending sales slipped just a bit from July to August. That doesn't sound like much, but back in the spring, we were running at over 120 pendings per month. The fact that we're trending lower is not a favorable sign for sellers. On pricing, the median selling price dipped slightly to just $1.277 million. Year-to-date, though, the median has been holding steady at about $1.3 million. Basically, that's flat all the way through 2024 to now. The average selling price rose in August to $1.857 million. Asking prices, however, are still running way ahead of reality. The median list price sits at $1.74 million, $500,000 more than the median selling price, and the average list price is over $3.3 million compared to average selling prices of just under $2 million. As for days on market, homes are averaging 137 days till they sell. That may sound high, but compared to condos at 168 days, sellers here are actually moving things a little faster. Okay, to wrap this up, Maui is at a pivotal point. Across the islands, tourism is slowly recovering, but unevenly. Housing policy debates like Bill 9 are still unfolding, and Lahaina's rebuild is showing real progress, though gaps remain, especially on Front Street. The condo market remains soft, with buyers in control, while single-family homes are holding steady or maybe even towards balance. What ties all this together is a clear truth. Maui's recovery, both economically and in real estate, will depend on thoughtful, coordinated action in housing, tourism, and infrastructure. Do we have the leaders in place to guide us through that? Sellers and buyers have to stay informed, patient, and realistic. If you're trying to navigate this market, knowledge is probably your most important tool. Maui remains a unique, resilient, and inspiring place. While challenges are real, opportunities exist for those who understand the tides and can ride the trade winds strategically. So whether you're buying, selling, or rebuilding, the Maui real estate market is dynamic, it's unique. It's always changing, kind of a moving target, if you will. So the most important thing you can do is stay informed, be prepared, and be patient. Thanks for tuning in. If you have comments or questions, drop them below or shoot an email to lee@alohapots.com. I answer every one. And if you like this one, give us a like and maybe send this episode to someone you know who's thinking about Maui. And if you haven't already, subscribe to make sure you don't miss a thing. Oh, and if you know someone who's thinking about buying, selling, or just keeping track of Maui's real estate market, we've got a fabulous team of seasoned, well-trained agents standing by to help you out. That's all for now. So, from the greatest island on earth, this is Lahaina Lee saying, Aloha! Tony Brown produced this podcast. The information provided in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It's not intended as a recommendation to invest in real estate or any other financial asset. We are not financial planners, certified public accountants, or attorneys. You should consult with a qualified professional before making any financial, legal, or investment decisions. All investments carry risk, and past performance is not indicative of future results.